Coleman,
Yeah.
founder of Red5 Security. We've been in business now 21 years, serving enterprises, unique organizations, family offices, ultra high net worth clients. So yeah, we've been around. We've seen a lot. We continue to service those clients today.
Nice, nice. That's a unique industry to be in. How did you find yourself there?
Yeah. So going back to the beginning, imagine that. Going back to the beginning, I got out of college and joined the CIA, and
As one does.
as one does, yeah, and found myself learning amazing skills and doing unique things for our government and faraway places, which was great. Uh, Jumped over to another organization a few years later, FBI as a special agent, again, doing unique things with great training, uh, supporting American citizens, both domestic and abroad. And short version of that was I decided to take those skills and apply them in the private sector. And
Hmm.
those kinds of clients have very unique kinds of needs. And so I could apply my skills and experience in the government sector and bring them to Red5 as an offering and provide solutions, thinking outside the box, really. Um, we're definitely not a company where one size fits all. Our solutions are tailored, to our clients.
Hmm.
Managed services, special projects. We're there to provide a solution at a great value. Um, and that value is in the eye of the beholder, right? So what they see is a solution and value is what we're driving for. Build that trust and provide the solution.
Hmm. Awesome, awesome. Can you, to the extent that you are comfortable sharing, what did you learn in your time with the CIA and FBI that you can then deliver or share with your uh, sit non-service uh, colleagues, friends,
Yeah,
countrymen?
well, I mean, the organizations provide intelligence for our policymakers, and the FBI is part of the intelligence community. CIA is the core of the intelligence community. Um, Different sides of the same coin, right? So FBI law enforcement focused heavily on the domestic side. CIA is focused heavily, outside the United States. And
Hmm.
so their charters are different, but they're both upholding the Constitution, and they're both trying to provide intelligence, not just information, for the policyholders. The FBI doing it domestically through assets that they develop domestically, and the CIA through foreign assets that they develop. And so those skills required to spot, assess, develop those assets, those people that we would recruit overseas, are valuable in vetting, business partners. They're valuable in vetting, doing due diligence on business acquisitions. They're valuable in doing investigations of persons of interest domestically for these families and for the corporations. You're trying to find out the information that they need to know to make better decisions. So those skills that I was provided in the CIA and those investigative skills that I was provided at the FBI as a special agent both feed into that skill set, for helping them learn what they need to know to make better decisions. Now, what else happened, right, in those organizations? So I did protection work at CIA, and so I learned how to provide executive protection. In some cases, very unique executive protection in foreign environments. And then I also did, obviously, intelligence gathering. I also did a number of things to provide security at the CIA. When you look at the FBI part of my career, heavily focused on investigations, but other duties were assigned to me, and I was on the SWAT team, for example. Um, so I have a very good grasp on tactics and how to assess and take down bad guys, and I would say less than ideal conditions. But we're using team tactics with the SWAT team to approach houses, make arrests, perhaps deal with multiple offenders at the same time, barricaded individuals, hostage rescue. So all of that skill set also applies to what we do as we're trying to move people around the world in a safe fashion. So it's a broad set of skills applied to a unique set of clients that allows us and continues to this day for 20 plus years of success.
Hmm. Wow, that's so cool. I'm curious, what attracted you to CIA, FBI in the first place? What made you want to serve
Well,
and
as a
join?
kid, I was always reading the Tom Clancy books,
Yeah.
and now it goes back a ways, right? But going back to Hunt for Red October, Red Storm Rising, Patriot Game, all the original Clancy books were all very heavily focused on that organization, CIA. And I loved international politics. I loved the intrigue. I loved, you know, what was going on in the world and how the U.S. sat in that world environment and how we were perceived. And so, yeah, I was always interested in intelligence. I never thought I'd have a shot at applying and getting in. But having a clean background went a long way. Being able to pass muster on everything, background check, polygraph, um, along those lines, as well as the testing to get in. So, very few
Hmm.
people get into the organization. And then I was fortunate to be able to apply to the FBI, again, an organization into which very few people are able to get in. But yeah, it's that original interest in international politics and international intrigue that drove me into the organizations that I've served.
Yeah. Wow. That's awesome. Um, there's just an endless amount of conspiracy theories that people have around these organizations. Again, just out of curiosity, what's the most common conspiracy theory that people ask about? Is it JFK?
Oh gosh, JFK, this is out there. 9/11 is obviously more recent than that. That it was somehow something other than it was, and there's no real evidence that supports that. I mean, conspiracy theories spin around. I don't put much weight in any of them. Um, we base a lot of our decisions on analysis and analysis of the facts at hand. And yeah, the reality is the organization is doing amazing work. The people are doing thankless work in a lot of instances, dark corners of the
Hmm.
world, seeking out the information our policymakers need, doing what's needed in those environments, both the FBI and the CIA. Um, and I couldn't be prouder for having worked at both of those organizations.
Hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And thank you for your service. Um, no, I want to make sure I'm not disrespectful in asking this, but you mentioned executive protection. That huge story 6 or 9 months ago, the United Healthcare CEO getting assassinated. How has executive protection changed since then?
Yeah, well, I think it's interesting because executive protection is one of the oldest professions ever on the planet, right? As
Hmm.
long as there's been something to protect, there has been executive protection or protect capacity. So, um, protection has been evolving over the years. I mean, I'd like to say I've been involved in probably the second, the third, and the fourth generation of protection techniques and tactics over the last 35 years. Um, but yeah, the tragic events of December, United Healthcare CEO, definitely drove additional business in the area. I would say a lot of executive protection firms were very, very busy. We were busy doing protective intelligence analysis, specifically helping organizations understand what their threat level was, what their risk level was.
Hmm.
They might be vulnerable. And so that was our focus post December. But I know a number of the executive protection firms have been very, very busy. Now, will that surge last? The question remains, right? So, um, providing executive protection and purchasing executive protection is an expensive endeavor for any corporation or family. And so the justification for that expense follows the knee-jerk reaction to, that kind of tragic event. It's just the
Hmm.
way the industry works.
Yeah.
So, what we believe is that the analysis of the information that comes in is going to be a persistent value to corporations and families. Now, will the application of executive protection, meaning staffing those positions and putting those details on these CEOs and these executives and family members, continue at this level? It's hard to say. It's going to depend on the threat level that's assessed. It's going to depend on the vulnerabilities of those CEOs and those family members. And what we've seen now is, even since then, the attacks in Minnesota on those legislators have continued to further this demand for executive protection. So are we in a new environment where there's going to be a lot more executive protection purchased and applied to executives? Possibly. I think more importantly, you're going to find that the need to understand and to know what you don't know, right? To understand what you don't know is going to be the keystone going forward. Organizations, whether it's nonprofit, whether it is for-profit, whether it is a family office, have got to know, take away the unknowns. That's really what we're trying to do. Take away the unknowns so they can make better decisions and be more productive. And if a CEO is focused on the bad guys around him, they aren't doing their job of running the business. They need to do that while they can focus and be productive as executives. Same thing with families. If the family's too busy worried about protecting a matriarch or patriarch, they're not carrying out the business of the family office. So what we find is they need somebody like Red5, like my company, to come in and say, let us help you understand the unknowns, rank the risks, right? Low, medium, high, give you good information to make great decisions about how to mitigate that risk, knowing you're going to accept some of it, get insurance and transfer the risk and accept some of the risk is just cost of doing business. But the larger risks, perhaps the most critical risk, could be mitigated by additional services. So that's kind of our role in helping clients understand where they are at risk. And then ideally, we build trust. That's really the most important thing we do as a company, and that I've done since I've started Red5, was build trust, sustain credibility, maintain reputation, stay above the noise, right? And at the highest level of ethics. And if we can do that as a company and provide great services, we're going to continue to be a great company in this space.
At what level should executives start considering executive protection? Like what level of their kind of status?
Level matters, right? So certain organizations have different people in different capacities that are of greater value, right? So you really start at looking at the different assets that the corporation has. So it's in looking at the different assets and you're characterizing the assets. So yeah, it might be CEO. So if the CEO is also the founder of the company and the stock price, teeters on the health of the CEO and their vision as a founder of the company, you could easily find, them as a high value asset that were something to happen to them, the stock price would be affected negatively. Then, yeah, that asset needs to be protected, for example. Or if they are perhaps head of research and development for a biotech company, and they've got all the secret sauce, the recipes for all the technology in their head, and they are now an intellectual asset for the company, you could easily find them as being one of the more important assets you need to protect. So it's not always a CEO, although everyone in the C-suite has a symbolic value, right, to adversaries. I attacked the CFO successfully. I attacked the COO successfully. I was able to get to the CEO. Obviously, we even saw that, with Luigi, and his thought process was the CEO is a symbolic and important target to go after insurance industry. That doesn't mean that every CEO is the best target in the company that they're in. Like I said, it could be somebody else. It may be someone who makes themselves an attractive target because of what they've said publicly. That short, posting on social media can sometimes be inflammatory and create a threat for a C-suite person. just because they said the wrong thing to the wrong people, or spoke out. We've seen that numerous times in the last 15 years with all the different social media and all the different online chat rooms, et cetera, that are out there. It doesn't take much to put yourself on the radar of an adversarial group.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. No, I want to be respectful of this question. So just to the extent that you are comfortable sharing, if you were in charge of executive protection for the CEO of United, how could that have been prevented, I guess?
Well, it's, I don't like to do, backseat driving, right? Or
Yeah.
the point fingers at protection failures. It's really easy to sit back and go, well, I would have done A, B, and C. The reality is, if you know you have a threat to an executive, so let's just make this more hypothetical. If you know you have a threat to an executive, and you know that you have resources that you can apply that will mitigate that threat, then obviously the corporation should be doing that, right? They need their leadership, they need to protect the brand, all of that. Now, applying executive protection is an intimate thing. And so suddenly the executive, male, female, doesn't matter, has got a number of individuals that are very, very much in their stuff. They are there when you wake up. They are there when you go throughout the course of your day.
Wow.
They're in small meetings. They're there in big meetings. They are there in family outings. And they're there with you at the end of the day when you put your head on the pillow. And so the intimacy that's involved in executive protection can be very, very problematic for certain individuals. They don't want that, right? It's very intrusive. And so what you find is CEOs can say, I don't want it right now. Like, you guys leave me alone for a little while. I don't need it here. I'm safe. And I don't know what the details were necessarily, but the reality is someone does. And there are situations where the executive protection team has to wave off. They're told to go away, right? Stand down for the moment. I need some space.
Wow.
And the reality is, even the president can do that, right? The reality is there, though, that Secret Service has a legal mandate to provide protection for the president. So even that's going to be a bit of a sliding scale. Like, how far away can they be? How much space can they give the president? How much space can we give a CEO of an insurance company? It's a very, very tough line. And having been the executive protection leader for CEOs, royal family members, defectors, family members, in my career, I can tell you that is the hardest thing to do, is know what the distance needs to be. How far away is too far? And, there's a number of studies that talk about how far away is too far for tactical reasons. Like, can you get there fast enough to stop a threat? How far away do you want to be so that the CEO doesn't have to always introduce you to every person they meet in a social setting? There's this whole thing, right? This whole,
wow.
I got to be real close. I got to be far away.
Yeah.
It's day one on executive protection training. Like, how close is close, and how far away is too far? So it's really hard to look back and say that they did a good job, a poor job. It is a really hard job, and what executive protection agents do is very, very difficult. And I will tell you that the personality of the executive, good or bad, will drive a lot of times how that detail will run. I worked with royal family members, a particular family in the Middle East, and the protectee walked up and thanked us, every one of the detail members, every night. Thank you for protecting me today. Thank you for protecting me.
Wow.
You don't get that. You don't get that.
Yeah.
It's really hard to find that in today's world. But what I will say, though, is as much as it teeters on the executive protection agents on the ground doing the work, if they're not informed by good protective intelligence, which is what Red5 does now, what we focus on, if they don't have great protective intelligence, they're going to be in a reactionary mode. And so I can't speak to what they had in December, but great intelligence informs how close you need to be and how many staff need to be on that detail, and whether or not you go to that meeting or whether or not you drive to that across town, in the Middle East to have that meeting. Or do you go to that nonprofit speaking event in Africa or not? And all decisions should be based on intelligence. And so what I will say is that regardless of what they did up there, they really needed great intelligence. And I don't know if they had that or not. And perhaps time will tell if they had enough protective intelligence to make good decisions about where they were going to be, how many staff they were going to have, et cetera. Or did the CEO decide, I don't need it today or for this, we just, all those details come out in the end, I think. But you need all of it. You need good technology, you need great people, and you need great intelligence and processes and procedures and policies. And if you don't have all of that together in one mix, you don't really have a holistic, solid protection detail.
Wow. Man, that's fascinating. It's so much more intricate than you would think. Seeing it from the
people on the street
outside.
That is bodyguarding. That is not executive protection.
Yeah.
All of it for it to be a professional, well-oiled machine.
Yeah. Amazing. So let's talk more nuts and bolts business. Thank you for indulging me with these my curious questions. You're a fascinating fellow, Kris. So who is Red5's ideal client, and how do you find them?
Oh, great question. That is the ongoing challenge for any company, right? Who's the ideal client, and how do we get more of them? For us, it's the organization that may have some leadership and security, but doesn't have a big bench or a big back office. So they might have a head of security, but they don't have a team of analysts. They may have a head of security that's an HR person, but they don't have any other tacticians, on their team that can help them with executive protection or event security or facility security. It might be head of legal is in charge of security, but they don't have any back office, right? So they're informed enough to help with business decisions, but maybe not schooled in the area of security enough to make really good, informed decisions about risk. And so what you find is they have a lot of vendors, and there's not a real cohesive security strategy behind a leader like that that's not a security professional. So a company, let's call it mid-market, that's got, hey, the head of facilities is in charge of all security for the global enterprise. Okay, that's good. You have someone focused on it, but are they really going to be making the best decisions? So we can come in and partner with them at whatever level they are, $5 million, $20 million, $100 million, and then be that back office for them at whatever size they need. They might need 2 analysts. They might need 10 analysts. They might need a physical security lead and an analyst lead. So we can provide that back office and then help that designated security lead really provide great service at a tremendous value, right? Because we're not full-time employees with benefits. We are an outsourced vendor, but we are a great back office for that kind of company. And what do I mean by that? We've got great managed services, meaning that they are automated subscriptions. They're providing good analytical inputs, helping them make great decisions. But then we've also got great tacticians who can say, let me help you with executive protection and event security, which an automated bot can't do, or an automated piece of software can't help with events, and it can't really necessarily help with executive protection. So we've got both capabilities in-house. And so we find that ideal client of sort of mid-market, if you will, Fortune 1000, Fortune 2000, that is growing and has a bunch of unknowns, and we can help them take away the unknowns and allow them to make great decisions. So that's an ideal client. Now, why does that work? The reason that works is because they need to grow. And how do they scale? So now they've got this vendor, and they may have 3 or 4 vendors, but that vendor's got to be able and willing to scale with them. Like, we've got 2 analysts. Now I need 10. Okay, we'll hire 8 more and we'll continue to be your value. We're not going to have 2 facilities. We're going to have 10. We need to now go assess those other 8 facilities. We can do that for them. And so that ability to, and willingness to come in at a small amount and provide the right solution for them and then scale with them as they need is a tremendous win theme for us. I mean, we got in early. We were early at Facebook. We were early at NVIDIA. We were early at Uber. We were early at all these companies over the last 20 years. Some of them didn't have budgets for security when we joined.
Oh, wow.
And we were like, hey, can you do this? I'm like, yes, we can. We would go, would help them in that area. Like, we're building a data center. Can you help us build a data center? Yes, we can help you with security of data centers. Oh, open our first global office in, Dubai. Can you help us with that? Yeah, we can help you with that. So it's this ability to jump in, solve the right problem, give them the right answer, and then go to the next challenge, go to the next challenge. Like, we're not the company that says we're in size medium and we're going to fit you and we're going to fit everybody. Like, that's just how we work. We know that's not a truism in our industry. So we want to jump in, solve the right problem at a great value, build trust, because the entire industry is all about trust, especially when it comes to families and that kind of referral base, but build trust and then scale with them smartly. And that has been a win theme that worked for us over and over again.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Awesome. All right. Well, Kris, we're coming towards the end of our time together. This has been absolutely fascinating. Thank you so much for taking the time. My final question for you is an open-ended question. You can take it in any direction that you like. And that question is, what are you working towards?
What am I working towards? Man, that's really open. That's good. I like open-ended questions.
Thanks, me too.
We like growing Red5. We know we're a good company that provides great value for our clients. So what am I working towards? I'm working towards making Red5 a bigger, better entity that can take on additional challenges with greater responsibility and give more opportunity for my employees. That could take a number of different directions, right? But ideally, I'm trying to find other companies to partner with. We just had a strategic partnership set up with Ontic, Protective Intelligence Software. That's going to give us new opportunities. We may want to look at new markets. Maybe we want to look internationally. But we want to also continue to stay ahead of the bad guy, right? So that they just have to be correct once, right? And they win. But on the defensive side, we have to be correct every time. We have to win every time, or our clients lose. So we're always working towards that, staying, right with the bad guys so that we can, not allow them to win. But what are we working towards? We're working towards making Red5 bigger, better, and giving my employees more opportunities and continuing to give our clients, great value and the trust that they've earned with us and we've earned.
Amazing. And where can my audience find out more about you and Red5?
Yeah, the easiest place is the website. So www.red5security.com. That's the easiest way to find us. We have a lot of great content on LinkedIn as well, where we're actually producing white papers and blogs and content around current challenges our clients face. So yeah, it's easy to find us at each place.
Awesome. We will link all of those in the show notes. Kris, thank you so much, man. This was a freaking blast. I could ask you questions about your experiences for the rest of the afternoon.
Okay, well, let's find another time and pick another topic. That'd be great.
Yeah, that'd be fun. So yeah, thank you so much for doing this. Really enjoyed this.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, my pleasure. And to all our listeners out there, thank you so much for tuning in, and keep on growing out there, everybody. See ya.